The next thing I want to do is share with you a story. It's a story that's based here in the Andes Mountains of Ecuador. It's one of the places we work. We build schools all around the world. On my first school building trip with a group of young Canadians, we were building a school up literally in the middle of nowhere in the Andes Mountains, and we had a problem. The problem was this. We had all our supplies going back on the back of mules up these tiny, windy mountain paths, because the only way you could get there, up the back of mules. All our supplies for the building of the schools going up these paths, and it was peak harvest season. So all the food was going back the side of mules, down the opposite direction on those tiny, windy mountain paths. And literally, in the middle of nowhere in the Andes Mountains of Ecuador, there was a traffic jam of mules. Traffic jam of mules. So we had to set our mules down because we didn't want the food to rot and we didn't know what to do. So we went to the wisest, the eldest woman of the community, the chief. And we said to her, we said, "Ma'am, we have a problem. We're not going to finish your school. We can't change our plane tickets. We're not sure what to do." She said, "No problem." We said, "No. Problem, rain, no roof, rain." She said, "No problem." She said, "No problem." And she literally walked out, and out of her hut, there was overlooking a gorge, and she said, "Tomorrow, there will be a Minga." And I went, "Minga, Minga." Nobody moved, nobody flinched. And she walked back, she said, "See, no problem." We're like, "Oh, that was awesome, thanks so much. That was great, hooking us up with that Minga thing." So we went back to the kids, and we're like, "She called a Minga, we better work all night." So we worked all night. We worked as hard as we could. We were hitting there, we had our lanterns, we did everything we could. We were so ineffective, we hit our thumbs probably more than we hit nails at 3 o'clock in the morning, but at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 5 o'clock in the morning, at 6 o'clock in the morning, we were working and working and working, and what we would see is these mamas come with kids strapped on their backs, and we'd see these kids all walk, and the papas would all walk, and they all left their fields at peak harvest season, and they all came together, even though they themselves weren't going to benefit from the school. They all came together, and they built the school, they finished the roof, they had a big celebration, and they left. We were totally blown away. They left. And we've never seen anything like this before. And we went to the woman, we had our head bowed, and we said, "Ma'am, what did you do?" She said, "I called a Minga." We said, "We know." We said, "We know. What's a Minga?" She said, "Oh, a Minga, in my language." And catch one, the Minga is the coming together of people to work for the benefit of all. We said, "Wow, the coming together of people to work for the benefit of all." She said, "Yes, the coming together of people to work for the benefit of all." She said, "What's the word in English?" And we were a relatively intelligent young group of Canadians. She's like, "What's the word? What's the word?" Because we kept on saying, coming together people to work for the benefit of all. It was getting a little exhaustive. She said, "What's the word?" And we were like, Said, "It's kind of like volunteerism, but not really, because you can do that alone." And we said, "It's kind of like barn raising, but barn raising doesn't really take place in downtown Toronto all that much." And she said, "Okay, so what's the word?" We said, "We got it. It's kind of like a riot for good. Everybody comes and riots for good, and they leave." She said, "Oh, a riot for good." We're like, "Yes, a riot for good. Thank you so much." That was super awkward because we understand, linguists tell us that words reflect culture. Think of all the words that we have in our language that revolve around the word money. But when we immediately don't have a word for the coming together of people to work for the benefit of all, what does that say? Well, it says we need a lot of work. The reason I want to share this story with you is twofold. Well, one, this is a Minga. What you're doing this afternoon, all day today, with the minister, with all of your incredible leadership, what you do every single day, but especially today, is a Minga. This is the coming together of people to work for the benefit of all. So I want to congratulate you on that, number one. But number two, the reason I want to share this with you is in order to move the needle on these issues, in order to get rid of polio, in order to do the things that we need to do with our Interact groups, we need to do more of it. So I need you to go back to your Rotary clubs, next day, day after, whenever you're back, and actually call a Minga and engage with your Interact groups and have them call a Mingas as well. Create that sense of purpose and unity and community. Because if you can do that, we can actually move the needle.